My dear students, I would talk about Old English literature with sample and examples, particularly focusing on semantics and syntax that was used in the literature of Old English times. I hope after completing this session, you will be able to recognize semantic and syntactic features of Old English that are available in any text that we can find of Old English language. Well, one of the most distinctive features that I want to talk about of Old English literature and for that matter of Old English language as it was exhibited in literature was the use of, that is, to and gi, that we today, nowadays, we use as you. Please compare these two forms. I would also like you to think of how we use it, in Urdu, and in, we have tum and we have aap for singular and for plural. But if we compare it with English, what we notice in modern English is we only have you that we use for both the forms. In the same way, my dear students, in Old English, we had thou and thee that were used for singular. These were two forms that were used for singular. And in the same way, we had two forms for plural. And the forms were ye and you. Nowadays, we do not have all these varieties available. Here, on the screen, I would like you to see some text, and I'm rubbing this because I want you to see the text clearly. So if you notice the text, what you would see here is, again, this Old English text is given at the bottom that I am putting a cross at, and the translation or transcription, I would say, in modern English is given at the top. This is again modern English, and this is its Old English form. I would like you to notice the words that I am talking about, you, its old form, ye. This is how it was represented at that time. Again, notice, now you, me of this. This you, because it is used for a plural again, this is the other form. So, one form and the other form. Both the forms you can see as they are present here. Again, if you look at the second line, that is the very bottom of the slide, again you would notice this you that is given as this. Right here at the top, you can relate the formula here. And here again, you can notice the use, and I would like you to, relate it to this one once again. So I hope with this sample, this is clear to you now how these varieties of pronouns were used in Old English language and how they were available in the literature that was written as shown in the sample. However, my dear students, in Middle English times, the custom arose of using, I'm pointing it out here, ye and you as a polite or deferential way of addressing a single person. So, as I would compare it with Urdu, for example, where nowadays in our Urdu language we use aap for a singular person to show politeness. And this usage spread, thou and thee gradually dropped as a result of that. And they were no more than available towards the later half or towards the end of the time period of Old English. Again, notice this example. In the black color, you can see the translation, whereas in the light brown color, you can see the text that is given in Old English. Again, I have put a cross on Old English and a tick on the modern version of that. And you can notice the use of, all these instances here, Again, notice the use, how it goes in the next example. Notice how it is being used. Also, notice the structure of the sentence. I would just focus on the structure of this first example for a minute. Please see, I say also to you, brother Edward, now you me of this. You know, this structure is not used in modern English. The Old English had this structure and it was considered to be very much all right. Again, see the next example. I am reading the modern version. Asked that you do unrighteously that you the. You know, in modern English, this is not acceptable, but in Old English, this structure, this syntax was considered to be very, very much acceptable. Whereas modern English has a lot of restrictions on that. This again is the example of the same text in continuation, and you can see the structure that is very much different in these two texts. One is the modern English version at the top, the other is the Old English version. Focus, for example, on this. And heathen men's customs love who? I would particularly like to talk about this who, that is shown here with this representation in letters. This relative clause use, where we connect one clause with the other by using who, you see, you can notice that. And in the phrase, this phrase that you notice there, that is taken, what we can see is, you know, how the relative clause which is embedded within that. Again, you know, we have repetitive use of the phrase which, as it is referring to the divorce, that is the customs in Old English. So because the word which is used for this relative, to make this clause, this is used for customs, that is something inanimate. That is why the distinction is that which is used. Who and which did exist in Old English. These were the forms. But they were indefinite or interrogative pronouns, and they were not used as relative pronouns. And for the relative function, Old English used indeclinable particles. As you already, I pointed it out there, you already noticed it in the old text. And for the definite article, you know, these declinable pronoun forms were used, or sometimes they were used, both of them were used together. So the structure, that is the syntax, and the meanings of words, that is semantics, in Old English was quite different from today, and it is found very much evident in the literature of those times.